Attention, everyone. Greg Abbott is still a little piss baby. Let's check out what the little piss baby with the red little diaper is doing today. All state-funded colleges and universities in Texas will have to close their diversity, equity, and inclusion offices under a measure signed into law by Greg Abbott, the little piss baby. Trying to outdo DeSantis in his quest to become the most outdated and malignant politician in the U.S. I think the picture says it all. He knows this ain't going to work well for him. Either that or he shit his diaper again. This is the state of Texas, mind you. This is that state that wanted to make the 10 Commandments in public schools law. This is the state that wants designated prayer times in public schools. Public schools, as in tax-funded. But the tax-funded colleges and universities are being told that they're not allowed to teach adults things. I would imagine this is an attempt to get affirmative action in front of the SCOTUS through legal challenges so they will strike it down, and Texas will get to brag about their state doing it first. Just like how many states are vying to get their draconian abortion bans in front of the Supreme Court. It won't be long before a state challenges Obergefell to get that in front of the partisan court, although it'll be after the 2024 election since they're trying to wedge the gay community against the trans community now. But it'll happen. You think there's not a case already challenging affirmative action in the Supreme Court? It is expected to be abolished later this month. It won't be Uncle Thomas. I referred to him as Uncle Clarence on another forum and got banned for being racist. Glad I'm not the only one to see him for what he is. He can't wait to strike it down. I was listening to a podcast about a documentary on him, and it sounds like he's essentially a pick-me girl or whatever the equivalent is for a black guy that wants to appeal to rich white school peers. The actual term is one that will get you banned. Literally everyone should be calling him that. I understand the problems in general with non-black people using that term, but it is 100% accurate here, appropriate, and goes well with his name. Reddit used to not be an absolute shithole. I love how conservatives cry nonstop about it being a liberal cesspool, but if you say anything that hurts their feelings, like describing their actions, they report you. Uncle Tom, the NFT, sold his own ass into slavery, motherfucker. Not only is affirmative action going down, Clarence Thomas is going to write the majority opinion. Fuck that guy. Omnia. I like that name. Terry Pratchett's Small Gods. I know about sureness, said Didactylos. I remember before I was blind, I went to Omnia once. And in your citadel, I saw a crowd stoning a man to death in a pit. Ever seen that? It has to be done, brother mumbled, so the soul can be shriven in Don't know about the soul, never been that kind of philosopher, said Didactylos. All I know is it was a horrible sight. The state of the body is not, oh, I'm not talking about the poor bugger in the pit, said the philosopher. I'm talking about the people throwing the stones. They were sure, all right. They were sure it wasn't them in the pit. You could see it in their faces. So glad it wasn't them in the pit that they were throwing just as hard as they could. I always said there should be a new logical argumentative fallacy for that type of behavior. People that have this absence of self-awareness in which they are so fucking happy they're not the one being mocked or ridiculed or attacked, that they don't even stop to say this is wrong. They really don't care. They're just so relieved it's not them. That book introduced me to TP about 25 years ago, and I proceeded to read every single Discworld and Pratchett-involved work. The man was the Carlin of the literary world. The only time Republicans care about students of color is when they're betting on sports teams. They don't care about them either. They're against student athletes receiving profits that they generate for the school. That's the move right there. Create a movement to encourage college athletes to decline to play in Texas and Florida. Well, like I said, very simple. You could put an end to all of this. You know, like with the migrants and the fresh new immigrants that are taking off from Florida, and their economy is like tanking down there. So now they're backpedaling, coming up with all these excuses and shit, saying, oh, they were just trying to scare people. Yeah. Oh, it was all just a joke. Oh, they didn't really mean it. Please come back. We have no one to pick our fruit. I say push that fucker down the stairs, point and laugh, then piss on him. Wow, he's not called the little piss baby for nothing. ACAB people right here, another cop killing and abusing children. Former Virginia police officer Jason Colley, who is currently serving home detention for the death of a 6-month-old infant daughter, has been arrested again for child abuse. Why the hell is this living thumb mixed with Jabba the Hutt and the Coneheads, apparently, serving home detention for the death of his own baby? I'm surprised they basically let him go, as if home confinement was going to change his way. Surprised? You mean you're not surprised? 8 years of home confinement after agreeing to an Alford plea, where he maintains his innocence but admitted he may be found at fault if he had gone to trial. Home confinement, you should be sentenced to work at a gas station or a McDonald's or some shit. We need more good thumbs with guns. See? Everything I say. Awful bold of you to think they're still going to be his family. Well, you can hold a job on work confinement. The general consensus is that you can go to essential locations like work, school, or church. Then maybe doctor's appointments or groceries. Oh, he was sentenced to 50 years in prison, but the judge suspended 42 of them and made the other 8 home detention. It's a big club, and we ain't in it. Good old boy network in its full glory. The judge who did this should also be charged with assisting in that child abuse. Yeah, the judge should be disbarred and dismembered. It's his fucking fault that this happened. Hear surprised pigs would help another pig? Well, it is the state of Virginia. If you pled not unguilty for killing a child, we're basically going to incarcerate him where he has access to other children. Took no time to line up and calibrate my thumb with his head. They all look the same. They really do. There's like, maybe I have noticed when it comes to cops, there's like a slight variance in hair color, eye color, and whatnot, and whether they're fat or thin, but generally they all look the same. I seriously believe they all look the same, and it's from thinking the same and being in that low end of average IQ. It's just, you know, when people talk about eugenics, they want to bring up shit, like racist shit, about how certain people look a certain way, and that's got to mean that they are a certain way. And then, you know, so many people fight against it and say that is itself racist. The only real instance that I have ever thought or had an inkling that that kind of shit is true is when it comes to cops. When it comes to trash, like just trash, deplorable people, I tend to think back on them and notice that they all tend to look the same. They all tend to have the same mannerisms. Not very bright. You know, there's just similarities. Cops are one of the only instances in where I have actually noticed something like that. Never changed San Antonio. San Antonio Wax Museum removes Trump figure because visitors kept punching it. Oh my God. You would think that would bring people into your museum. Want to go to the museum? What? No. They have a wax figure of Trump that people are punching. Who's driving? Oh, man, they should have kept it up. I want photos of how fucked up that thing looked when they finally took it down. Chef's kiss. They only removed it so they could put in the version that's more durable. They should hang the figure by its neck so it won't fall. Yeah, like a punch clown balloon. Put it on a semi-spherical weighted base so that when you punch it, it jerks back and stands up on its own. Well, he is a clown. Not going to lie, this would drive up attendance if it were a known thing. Hell, I'm willing to be bipartisan on the issue. Any politician wax figure should be a free-for-all to punch. Now, see, I think they went about this all wrong. Charge $1 a swing and they'd make a mint. Oh, come on. Seriously. I so want to see photos of that thing. It's a wax figure. It probably actually looks more like Trump. That wax figure doesn't really look like him that much. I want to see it with, like, its glass eyeball hanging out. And its hair all stuck up like Beaker from the Muppets. And like its lips all drooping down and all kinds of weird shit. The tie wrapped around his neck like a noose. Oh my God. In fact, if you are listening to anybody talking about this San Antonio Museum, please, I will pay if you post detailed photos of that messed up thing. I've said for many years, Trump could have made billions legit just sitting on a bench and letting people pay him like $20 to spit on him or $500 to piss on him. He could sit somewhere at Times Square and there'd be a line wrapped around Manhattan. I would pay to piss on his corpse. Nah. You can't do that. You know, Trump is supposed to be the one that doesn't just have a lot of gold in his penthouse apartment, if you know what I mean. I would honestly wait 3 hours in line, pay $50 to punch him, and go back in line. Shut up and take my money. Why did I read this in George Carlin's voice? Idiots could charge $5 a pop and make a fortune. Look at that bad kitty. That's so cute. That's so adorable. Nice to see that in San Antonio, home of the Alamo, actual patriotism still thrives. Coincidentally, this wax museum is directly across the street from the Alamo site. No kidding, the Alamo saw every punch. I'm inclined to believe visitors punched it is the politically acceptable way of explaining the museum's removal of that human shit-stained statue. They could have easily put it behind glass or something. Even better, behind bars. I've actually heard of the defacing of the Trump wax dummies well before now. Couldn't tell you if it's in San Antonio. 100% on board with throwing them all in the landfill where they belong. Make sure the mouth is open so it'll be accurate to him. Gold-plated shower. Trump doesn't even have the cash to afford the real thing. Well, who the hell would want a solid gold shower head? I want what Mr. Burns has. I want those cute little fish shower heads where the water comes out of the mouth and it has a slight arc. That would be cute. Better yet, charge people to punch it, then donate it immediately to any cause that Trump hates, like for abused women or LGBTQIA charities. I'm doing my part. I've actually punched that statue before. Removed it. It should be the main attraction. $5 a swing, get a free T-shirt if you knock the empty head off. Dude, they could have like mini lotteries for that type of shit. Like I said, I would pay to see photos of how warped and fucked up that thing is. They should make it so that you get like one opportunity. You get one swing or one shot at it, and if it really fucks it up significantly and the crowd goes wild with laughter, then they win the pool. Like everything that had been donated for the past like half a day or something, because, you know, I like the charity idea. Democrat inflatable Republican doll for stress relief. What is this? Punch the Trump. It's finally here. Donald Trump inflatable punch bag. Newest and most exclusive item from United States of oh my gosh. This item has been asked for by you, the consumer. Funniest gift of 2019. Donald was famously floated above London capital city recently. We wanted to give you the opportunity to have your own way of loving or hating this leader. I don't know why anyone who loves him would want to repeatedly punch him. Fully usable inflatable punch bag that will pop up time and time again. Boom. Take that stress away, give to a friend as a gift, or simply stick it in your game room. It's sure to be the talk of the town. Instagram goodness all around. Impress your photo-taking friends. For optimal results, fill the bottom of the punching bag with sand or water. Item no longer available. Too bad. Does it actually say like BAM on it and shit? It's actually pretty impressive. They even captured his ass neck. That's his twat neck. Ew. The hair on the statue looks too realistic to be his. Man, they really did mold Biff Tannen off Trump, didn't they? Why is the media not covering this? We need a patriot down there now. We need to protect President Turnip at all costs. I do it, but I'll need body armor, an AR-15, Oakley sunglasses with the cool reflective lenses, no steps neck patch, and a minimum of 4 Code Red 2-liters. Gotta stay frosty. They should have made it so when you punch Trump in the dick, his eyes light up. That's a better piece than Trump's own comb over. Sounds like the museum's missing an opportunity to make a whole lot more money. These guys are terrible at capitalism. They should have kept it and just made another so that you could just punch it. Sign, please take off all rings before punching. Help us preserve the statue so others can punch the fucker too. Scary part is this is about the only positive story to come out of Texas in the last 7 years. San Antonio, never change. Now, imagine if that happened at the Hall of Presidents. These are awakening patriots taking some warm-up shots in preparation for the big game. These MAG adults have no idea how much they're hated. I bet they hit him so hard he now looks like Lou Dobbs. Kathy Griffin had an even better idea. Yep. I'd rather they leave it up and put a target around his face. Who wants to open a business in San Antonio? A stress room, weapons, Trump figurines, loads of them. You get to go fucking ape shit. It would make bank. Well, they have Love Trump souvenir shops. I'll go in on it with you. And now do Ted Cruz. Yup, the hair does look better. But the face isn't exactly right. This is brilliant. Nazis hate queer people and people of color because we exist. We hate Nazis because they want us dead. These two things are not equal. Fighting an enemy who insists on nothing less than your death and absolute absence from existence does not make you just as bad as them. Thank you, Queer Viet Union. Tell me a time in history when it was the good guys banning books. Nice. Nice point. Oh, some more ACAB news. I become so fucking livid. I'll admit, you know, the past couple of days, the past few days, when
Reddit announced it was going to eliminate third-party apps. So all these mods decided to put their subs on private, black them out so that nobody could enjoy any of them on Reddit. Of course, they've all come back, but it actually made me feel a little bit better in the past few days not to have to read all this shit. As important as it is to be aware of all this garbage, more shit that just makes me livid, makes my blood boil when it comes to these fucking shit ass cops and right wing politicians and these maggots and all of these horrible fucking people. But they're back, so here we go again. 19 cops fired into a UPS truck could exceed 200 rounds. Thank God the cops opened fire and killed not only the two suspects, but also a hostage and random passerby, or the bad guys would have gotten away with some insured jewelry and their easily identifiable super slow moving UPS truck that was already being GPS tracked and had a helicopter following it. Motherfuckers. Frank Ordonez, 27, and Rick Cutshot, 70, lost their lives on December 5th, 2019 during a gun battle in which 19 officers from 4 law enforcement agencies and 2 suspected hijackers exchanged more than 200 rounds of gunfire. Ordonez was driving a UPS truck that was hijacked by a pair of suspected jewel thieves. Cutshaw, a 70-year-old union organizer, was killed in the crossfire when his car became stuck in traffic during the shootout. This is an actual plot line in the Blacklist. They go after a criminal who disguises assassinations as major accidents. USA excels in plots against workers' rights, especially unions. That's not a wild take. But let's not forget how much money needs to go to the cop unions. Police statement is horrid too. This is what dangerous people do to get away. If people give up and are held accountable for their actions, then we wouldn't put this many people in danger. Look what you made us all do. You know, the FBI prides itself on being a law enforcement agency for intelligent people. They are well trained in how not to ever open fire in a crowd. So, I guess they're going to make sure that the cops that killed the innocent man are held accountable, right? This is not a joke, it's just the way cops actually think. How long and hard do cops have to sniff their own farts to believe that response would be received well by any sane person? It's unfortunate Frank was taken as a hostage because the criminals expected the cops to have morals and actually want to bargain for an innocent person's life. But, you know, those criminals forgot that cops know everyone who isn't like them is automatically a criminal. And there's no such thing as an innocent person or a wasted life. Or a life you can't waste. Why was this not the start to a revolution? Because the people who claim that are the same people who enthusiastically back the police in all these situations. Conservative paradox. Those who scream the most about government tyranny are the biggest supporters of the people who do the terrorizing. Stuff your little jimmies back in your pants, pigs. Being bullied as a kid or having your PTSD is no excuse to murder people. Yeah, just want to remind you, this thing does not happen with the U.S. Postal Service because they actually have their own police. You can see drivers posting about cops that they claimed were harassing them, and they got reprimanded, suspended, etc. for harassing postal employees. Fuck UPS and FedEx. The Postal Service also has the best rates. Postal police are the real deal. Yeah, that's because the post office is federal. Half of my family were career postal workers, postal employees. We have a postmaster general who's in charge of all that shit. They are a federal institution. Postal workers are technically considered federal employees. They are actually a part of the list of federal workers who are in line. You know how they have a vice president in case the president dies or gets assassinated. And then they have all of the cabinet office heads. And then they have the major federal justices and all these other people. Well, it goes down a lot longer than that. Like pretty much anybody who is a federal worker is technically in line. The common denominator of them are the insecurities they never dealt with, drawing them into a profession where they can be the tough guy and protect their fragile little egos with authority. But the thin blue line, everyone's out to kill me. Uvalde Police Department, to protect and serve. When seconds count, we'll just wait at the door. Sounds like organized crime. Gonna start asking people with thin blue line stickers why they don't believe the Second Amendment will keep us safe. You can't play gotcha with stupid people. That pigeon playing chess analogy suits them to a T. This senseless act of violence, and who caused the senseless act of violence? Motherfucker, this makes me so mad. But the jewelry, surely that was worth a whole lot more than 4 human lives, 2 of which had absolutely no idea what the fuck was going on. I just wanted to shoot my gun. Most cops do not need a gun. Stop giving guns to ordinary cops since they can't help but shoot them like toys. Here's the simplest police reform idea. There should be 2 types of police officers. Barely trained traffic and patrol personnel without guns who can call backup when needed. Highly trained military units who know how to de-escalate and wait inside until they are called to intervene, like firemen. Or, how about like when there's an alien invasion? Then you can have all the guns you fucking want. Shit pisses me off so much. Ew. Whoa. Those things really freak me out. Ooh, what kind of stat is this? Nuni Omot has not seen father since 1996. Cheers to Trump for telling one 17-year-old calling for action against global warming that they have anger issues while praising another 17-year-old for literal murder. Oh shit, I heard about this. Republicans claim to hate socialism but could never survive without it. Newsom. 71% of the GDP in America are from blue counties. Progressive states. 7 of the top 10 dependent states are your states. Red states. We are subsidizing your states because of your policies. Man, I have to check this out. I didn't watch the interview. Use some Fox.
This is the Dollamore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollamore.
I don't know that I'll ever get used to the lack of talent, intellectual acuity.
I'm going on a little break, but I'm listening to this because I haven't seen it.
Ability on the right, especially among media figures. Sean Hannity last night had Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, my former governor. I no longer live in California, but for years, he was my governor. He had him on the show. And it seems to me at odds with self-preservation, at the very least, that you would have someone who can dominate you intellectually, who can dominate you relative to the recall of facts and data and statistics. And that's exactly what happened last night on Hannity's little show on Fox News with Gavin Newsom. They're talking about the economy, and I don't know if Hannity is just hypnotized by his own bullshit, if he is convinced by his own echo chamber that he is going to be able to handle Gavin Newsom in some pugilistic manner. It didn't happen. Hannity got absolutely wrecked on his own show, just dominated with the use of what the facts are related to the Biden economy. Watch this first one where they're talking about inflation. Look, we all know that inflation has been a sore spot over the course of the last two and a half years. Coming out of COVID, and a lot of this can be chalked up to some market forces, but a lot of it can be chalked up to greedy corporations who are padding their bottom lines by jacking up prices. Items they're not affected by supply chain issues and general inflationary metrics across the board are being passed on to you, the buyer. And Republicans have run with this. They've gone crazy talking about inflation as though the global inflation problem is Joe Biden's fault. The fact that there's inflation in France and Britain and all across the EU, all across the globe, is Joe Biden's fault. Now, dum-dums in the Republican Party, the idiots who printed up the "I did that" stickers that they put on gas pumps all across the country, they buy it because they are low information. They are bamboozled by bullshit, and they ran with it. And Sean Hannity has been a purveyor of this nonsense. And then when he gets Gavin Newsom on his show in front of him, he thinks that the propaganda is gonna bamboozle Gavin Newsom, and it did not work. Watch this.
Question.
I'm answering the ones in order. You brought up the economy. On the economy, let's talk about the economy.
You want to give him an A?
Inflation, stubborn around the globe. Let's talk about inflation. It's down 40% since last summer, 10 months in a row, 4.9%. He was just with the UK Prime Minister at 6.9%. Is that because of Biden's
I think
Fed
Biden's
policy?
Economic and energy policies
Directly impacted the UK's inflation?
No, I am
Or the
telling
fact that France is 5.5% or Germany's at 6.1%? On inflation, we're moving in the right direction. On the issue of the border security,
we inherited 1.4% inflation. It went up to 40-year high after 40-year high.
Globally. globally because you just brought up,
so
you were making
you're
an
gonna give-
excuse for Trump's dismal jobs record related to COVID.
It wasn't a
but you
dismal
won't
jobs
acknowledge
record.
COVID's relationship to inflation globally. And by the way, COVID
let me
and
stop you for a
immigration
second. All right.
impacting our inflation.
Let me stop you. All right, so
Let me stop you. This is devastating to my propaganda outlet. I cannot have this. You need to be quiet. Let me talk some other things. Let me jingle some keys for the low information audience to get distracted by. That's what you just witnessed. It is either, to me, I mean, there's probably other factors at play here, but it seems to me it's either he's so dumb, it's Dunning-Kruger in full effect. He believes that he's got a stranglehold on what the situation is. Or he believes his audience is so stupid that they'll buy anything. Because by any metric, by any calculation, by any standard, Sean Hannity just got worked by Gavin Newsom with just the basics. They didn't even get to drill down into higher level
Let's go on.
his policies are failing.
CHIPS Act, Science Act, do you oppose that?
I will tell you on every measure, from the economy, inflation, borders, energy, national security, he's missing in action.
Let's talk about them in order. Let's talk
hang
about,
on.
Wait, but I want
no.
to challenge the premise. You said the economy, 13.1 million jobs he's created. More.
These are post-COVID jobs.
Okay.
You know that.
Well,
I mean,
well,
that's an artificial number.
No. Then let me stipulate this as an opportunity to engage civilly on this.
Okay.
Fair point. Your president, Donald Trump, lost 2.6 million jobs during his 4 years. We've created 13.1 million. Fine, you can maintain a COVID frame. How about the fact that Joe Biden's created more jobs, 6 times more jobs than the previous 3 Republican presidents combined?
Are you going to tell me
Sean.
that the average family, where we have 2/3 of Americans now living paycheck to paycheck,
It was
we have-
70% under
Hang on.
Trump. That was
That's not
70%.
true.
It was 70% under Donald Trump. living
Pre-COVID,
paycheck
we
to
had the
paycheck.
lowest unemployment rate for every demographic. Now,
We have the lowest
let
black
me
unemployment in
pause
history,
you.
and you and I are living with the lowest unemployment in our lifetime, Sean.
We
You
had
can't
it for
make that
every
up.
demographic, and the economy was
Black
humming along.
unemployment's record low under Joe Biden.
Okay, we had historic low after historic low under Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. I mean, but he's
here's what I don't
cleaned
wanna have
Trump's clock, Biden, in terms of the progress in job creation. Look at what he's done on
so
jobs.
What would you grade?
I mean, it's self-immolation at this point. It is masochistic on the part.
Yeah. Ah, boy. And what's with the orange spray tan? Haha. If blackface is racist, then womanface is sexist. Come on, like anyone's buying this. If you thought it was like racism, you'd think it was awesome. Nice. Last time I checked, men have consciousness. Interesting opinion. Okay, sure. Not indicted, bigly indicted. Why is Trump being singled out? Conspiracy. full-on psychotic behavior. Windsor police have charged a man with criminal harassment after he allegedly, he's there, it's not alleged, it's a fact, entered the hospital palliative care unit to post a selfie of himself next to the dying father of a woman who had taken him to task about anti-drag queen views. So, this woman called out this dipshit for his anti-drag queen views. So he infiltrated the palliative care ward at the hospital so he could find her dying father and take the selfie with him. And what exactly is this supposed to be a message about? You thumb-looking piece of shit. Ha ha, your dad is dying? Are you threatening to do something to him? How the hell did you get in there? I believe that would be illegal to do that. I think the hospital would have you arrested for doing that. Infiltrating a private care unit. Well, sure nice of him to provide the cops with photographic evidence in their case against him. What a fucking psychotic. That's the word, psycho. These right-wingers are absolutely psychotic, just completely unhinged. And yet there's still people that say we should get along. Oh, that's the whole point. He knows it's inappropriate. He knows it's criminal. He wanted to frighten this woman and her family into silence. World refuses to believe that mentally ill is not code for person with shitty beliefs. The sheer number of opportunities the psycho had to come to his senses and think this is probably a bad idea and never course corrected means he needs to be away from general society for a long time. He was also charged with sexual assault a couple of years ago. Absolute piece of shit this guy is. He's trying to say he made the trip to lift his spirits. I'd go rogue on his ass. I'm getting tired. I don't want to go over all of this. I was worried in the first half, but came through. For real, I hope this photo in the related story comes up every time a future employer does a background check. That is the true beauty of the internet. This stuff will be out there for everyone to see. Just ask rapist Brock Allen Turner. You mean rapist Alan Turner, formerly known as rapist Brock Turner. Don't worry about calling him stupid. Deranged people don't really do good with logical thinking. Sort of like the people on January 6th storming the government building and taking selfies. Religious beliefs don't allow me to treat you. It works every time for them, so why not use it? Absolutely. Working in healthcare, I've seen plenty of examples of poor boundaries and a good handful of cases where much less inflammatory behavior is not tolerated. Their care is terminated aside from dire emergencies. We are not in the business of letting people die on our doorstep, but we can and will refuse non-emergent care to people that do shit like this. Today's conservatives seem to be driven by some unholy quest to outdo each other's nastiness and evil. They're actually at the point where they're touting the hurting of innocent people as a strength to be celebrated. At some point in the future, historians are going to identify this behavior as the clearest sign that they knew they were on the losing side. Now, you see, historians today have already pinpointed that type of behavior because we have seen it before in history. We've already fought the Nazis. We've already had the Second World War. We've already experienced, or we're very close to people who have firsthand experience with an entire generation and more worth of people who, just like these assholes and bigots right here, were completely taken in by propaganda, completely and utterly brainwashed to the point where they were touting the hurting, the torturing, the snuffing out of innocent people's lives as a strength, as a virtue, wearing their hate literally on their sleeve in the form of armbands. And it's not even just with the Nazis. There have been other despicable, despot leaders throughout history. A lot of them that we know the best, and not enough people do know about them. They were living at the same time. We didn't just have Hitler. Okay, we had Mussolini. We had Pol Pot. We had, I don't know if I want to say Rasputin. Well, you could say Marie Antoinette was one of these people as well. And that's why the French, once again, all got together one day and chopped that bitch's head right the fuck off. I've been getting so jealous of France lately because they seem to be one vein of people that always know how to take care of that shit. Mao Zedong in China killed millions of his own people, imprisoned and tortured millions more. because he had to put out his little red book. He had to form his own people's army. But sure, they were going after the rich, they were going after the powerful. A lot of things that kept a lot of people down were eliminated. But the unnecessary imprisonment and torture and suffering of millions more simply for knowing people who knew a person who was of that class was just something else entirely. Mao and Mussolini and Hitler, all these people, they lived at the same time. There are people from back during the Roman Empire. There were people from Northern Asia. There were people all through history, the whole history of mankind. People that maybe were lucky enough not to even have any word on anymore. Any significant history books about, who knows, that have done this exact same shit. It's all basic psychology. It's all the same textbook shit they use. It becomes a virtue to be a piece of shit, because that's how you get these idiots to do your dirty work for you. And ultimately, do you think people like Donald Trump, do you think people like these conservative, religious, batshit, right-wing politicians honestly and truly give a shit either way? I think some of these people are in fact so fucking psychotic. They are so fucking off their nut. They really don't care which way it goes, so long as they can keep their money, so long as they can keep their own power. If we made like France and we eliminated all this bullshit, just cut out this right-wing, conservative, Christo-fascist, religious freak, hatred, bigotry, misogynistic, anti-woman, anti-minority, anti-immigrant, anti-everybody but themselves bullshit, like the fucking festering fat-ass tumor that it is. Your politicians, people like Trump, they would be really, really disappointed, but they'd find a way to deal. They'd backpedal, they'd change their tune just like that. Because ultimately, at the end of everything, so long as they get to keep their money, so long as they get to keep property, so long as they get to keep something in terms of power, authority, ultimate freedom and privilege, I really don't think they care. They so don't care about you or your neighbors or anybody but themselves. They so don't care. They don't even care about what side they're on. Do you think all these pedo priests really are going to give a shit if, say, a bunch of good Christians were to rise up and actually hold these bastards accountable? At the end of the day, do you think they're really going to care very much about service to God? No. So long as they don't get put away, so long as they get to keep a position, they'll follow, however things end up going. Whichever way the wind blows, they'll go with it. So long as they get to keep some money. So long as they get to keep some power and authority. They really don't care. Doesn't matter who's on their side. It doesn't matter who calls them a friend. Doesn't matter who their supporters are. If shit went south, they'll throw all of them right under the bus, just to ensure no consequences come to them. It doesn't matter which way it goes. It doesn't matter which side wins. It doesn't matter where the majority lies. So long as they don't lose what keeps them comfortable, they don't care. They don't care about anything, any philosophy, or anybody. And that's what's sad about these maggot Trump supporters and right-wing conservatives. Trump doesn't give a fuck about them at all. Yeah, he loves them. He loves them insofar as how useful they remain to him. Of course he'll hate leftists, because the people that adore him hate leftists. If we were to all get together and cut that bullshit out like the festering tumor it is, growing on this nation's ass, he will backpedal, throw all his supporters under the bus. So long as nothing happens to him. He doesn't care about MAGA. He doesn't care about this country. He doesn't care about all the shit that these people feel strongly about. That's all he did was stoke their fire. This fire that was already there, to get him in a position that's better than he was in before. It all goes south tomorrow. He won't give a fuck about MAGA. He won't give a fuck about any of his supporters. He'll do whatever he has to do to save his own skin and keep as much of his money as possible. These psychotics are so fucking off their nut, they don't even believe their own shit. These pedo priests, they don't give a shit about what's in the goddamn Bible. They don't give a shit about what they're not supposed to be doing to the innocent children. The position is a perfect spot for them. That's the perfect position from which they can predate on children. They can prey on innocent children. I don't give a fuck if it were to keep them out of prison. If we tore that whole fucking thing apart, turned all of the priesthood and Christianity as a whole in this country right on its fucking head, 110% accountability, they'll gladly quit. If it meant they wouldn't go to prison for life, they'll gladly quit. They'll suddenly not find the priesthood what they're meant for, and they'll look for something else. Just like with this guy, he's already making excuses. Oh, it's because I know this woman and she's been mocking me because, I've been mocking fucking drag queens. And she has a dying father in the hospital. Well, I went there to wish him well. That's all I was doing. Of course, that's not what he was doing. That's not why he was there. But he's a fucking dumbass piece of shit. Now he's given the world photographic evidence of all the crimes he's committed. It doesn't matter. Not only does her dying father not matter, that was just an excuse anyway, but the reason he went there to try to own her, he's not going to care about anymore. Not when he's facing possible prison time for this. Nothing matters to these fucking psychos because nothing can matter. That's what makes them psychotic. That is what makes them insane. That is what makes them not normal. All right? a psychotic person, a person with those serious types of problems, they do not have the ability to feel empathy. They do not have the ability to feel anything a normal human being is capable of feeling. The closest they could ever get to it is when it affects themselves. You know, yeah, if I were this woman, you know what? I would be like these people right here. Of course, I'd want the law to throw the book at them. I would have to end up in jail for a few days first because I would break his fucking face for that. I would break his fucking face. And then they could put me in jail, do whatever the fuck they want to do with me until his trial comes up. But, you know, in a small way, you gotta think to yourself, it will mean his reasons for doing this, and they were all nefarious, horrible, psycho reasons. Those reasons won't even mean anything to him now that he's facing consequences. He will backpedal. He will profusely apologize. He doesn't have the ability to know what an apology is, but he's going to do it. He'll do it because anything that will keep him out of prison, anything that will keep his life from being permanently ruined. Psychotic doesn't mean cognitively deficient. I'm trying to be politically correct here by not using certain words. He knows the difference between right and wrong. He knows enough, all the deep shit he's in for doing this. It's supposed to be to threaten her father, because he wants to be cruel. He knows that much. But whether she breaks his face or not, it doesn't mean anything to him. It is not going to mean anything to him when it comes down to consequences. Because the only thing he is truly capable of knowing or feeling, if you can use that word with somebody like this, is that he doesn't want his life to be ruined. So he's already doing it. He's already doing it with the excuse that he went there because he just heard that she had a dying father and decided to go visit him. We all know that's not why he went there. But he's going to look like a complete asshole because, and I see him in the very near future, fake crying, falling to his knees, prostrating himself before her, crying to the judge or the magistrate, whatever they have over there, doing whatever undignified, pathetic thing he has to do to save his own ass, even though it makes him look worse. And people are gonna say, you know, you're a complete piece of shit. You look even more like a piece of shit. You look even more guilty by doing this shit after the fact. He's not thinking of that. He can't think about that. It's not going to matter to him. Because it's himself, his life, everything getting taken away from him. That's all he's going to know. That's all he's going to know. You might say he doesn't know any better, because he doesn't have that ability to feel like a normal human being. I know, it's kind of ironic. These people get themselves worked up into a tizzy. They enjoy cruelty and the torture and the persecution and the death of other people. A lot of psychos have this almost a fetish for cruelty to others. They enjoy it. Because they don't have the ability to feel empathy. It's like an actual brain thing with psychos. So a lot of them enjoy cruelty. They enjoy violence. And that's what people like him are like. And they enjoy it so much, it's very easy to rile them up. Like maggots and people. It's ironic because they will eagerly, giddily call for the torture and the exclusion and the death of certain groups, mostly marginalized groups, because they're in a minority. They're easier targets for them. And they will call for the worst things to happen to these people. And here's where the irony comes in. Finally, sorry. The thing is, the people who you could honestly and factually say, and from a scientific standpoint, are the least like people are psychos. People like this. I call them the children of the damned, because it's like that movie. If you've seen either the black and white one is the classic one, they made a remake with Christopher Reeve, and I liked it, but then again, it was kind of shitty. I don't know. Village of the Damned, that story, the creepy blonde albino kids with the glowing freaking eyes, where, the old black and white sci-fi film, but it was one of the classics, where the spaceship came down and everyone in the small town passes out and they don't know what happened, and when they all wake up, about a dozen women or so are pregnant, and they had all been magically inseminated by these alien beings or the strange force or whatever came out of the sky that night. And they all had their kids, and they are these albino, creepy looking kids. And of course they're creepy. They're alien hybrid kids, so of course they gotta look creepy. But the worst thing about it, and what the film was all about, was these were essentially alien life forces that got human women pregnant so they could look like humans and have human bodies and live in the village with these people. And they did not have emotion. They did not have the ability to feel. Nothing. All right, you talk about, and everybody has somebody in their life, something is going to bother everyone. People are going to have their boundaries. People are going to have limits. People get humiliated when bad things happen. They get angry when things make them mad. They get happy and smile when things make them sad. They laugh at comedy clubs because they have the instant emotional response to a funny scenario that has been created for them. Those are all basic emotions, and we all take them for granted. They didn't have emotion. That included the most important emotion of all, basic empathy, the ability to put themselves in other people's shoes, the ability to understand, have that innate understanding of what other people or other beings, doesn't have to be other human beings, are going through. And when you have a complete absence of even the most fundamental human emotion, and not just human emotion, these are emotions fucking dogs and cats, dolphins and gorillas and chimpanzees and birds, fucking birds have the ability to feel emotion. These children didn't. And because of that, they were unbelievably dangerous, not just to the village, but to potentially the whole world. They would maim and kill people on a whim. In the new version, they were harming and killing people because their soup was too hot, or an eye doctor put the wrong drop in their eye. Now, in actuality, and I don't think way back then they truly understood this, or maybe the writers did, and they were trying to express it through a sci-fi film. That is what a psychotic is. People exist that have an underdeveloped amygdala or something like that. They do not have the ability to feel emotion. That's why they hurt animals. It usually starts with hurting animals. They kill people without a second thought. They don't feel. That's why when I see people like this, I usually call them children of the damned, because that's exactly what they're like. That's what that old movie basically depicted. You don't need an alien spaceship for that kind of a horror. It already exists. And these are the only people that exist that you would absolutely not be at fault at all, morally, mentally, emotionally, by saying they are the only humans that could and should ever be called not human, not normal people, not normal at all. You are hard-pressed to even call them people, because the humanity itself is absent. When the humanity is absent, this is what happens. And if you don't do something about it, something serious, it only gets worse. Now, it is because of Nazis and the Khmer Rouge and hardcore communist armies and, Holy Roman task forces that used to kill tons of people and all the horrible shit throughout man's history. It's because it takes a lot of people for shit like that to go down, that scientists and psychologists actually believe that perhaps all humans have that ability to at least temporarily go into psycho mode. Because how else would otherwise normal, sane human beings be so fucking stupid and then go from stupid into gas chambers and mass graves and bullshit like that? One of the good things about psychotics is that they're supposed to be exceedingly rare. So then how would you get legions of Nazis? Perhaps it's also something they think can be learned. Perhaps if a person is abused enough or triggered with just the right words at just the right time, they can temporarily become psychotic. They really don't know. It's a serious talking point when it comes to psychology and the nature of man. But, you know, one thing is for sure. Once you see the signs, once it starts, you can't allow it to go any further. The only thing these types of people are good for is causing pain and difficulty for others. And like I've said before about politicians, about these types of people in general, you cannot be nice. There is no negotiating your way out of it. There's no talking your way out of it. There's no kind hand on the shouldering your way out of it. There's just no way to get through to psychotics like this. Again, the little bad dog analogy. Bop them on the nose. Make sure they're well fed. Make sure they're happy. Make sure they're, taken care of and all that. But never let them forget who is in charge. You can't ever let these people get away with their shit. You can't ever allow these people to be in charge of anything. It will only hurt everything. Oh, I got a headache. But I want a glass of wine. So that's enough talk of cops and bastards and right-wingers and piss babies, and goodbye.